Today, a tour aimed at rural health care here in Georgia derailed when Atlanta News First asked some pretty tough questions.
Political reporter Doug Reardon joins us live from the Monroe County Hospital in Walton County tonight, where he pressured Republican Congressman Mike Collins about his family ties to a white nationalist. Doug?
Well, good evening. This story was first reported by CNN earlier this month. It identified David Allen Scheer II as Mike Collins' son-in-law and showed that Scheer is an online influencer who has very routinely echoed white nationalist and even anti-Semitic ideals in online videos. And we asked Collins about these ties today. While he did address healthcare, he did not directly address those online videos or his son-in-law.
It's no secret that our healthcare system in this country must be improved.
In Monroe Thursday, Republican Congressman and Senate nominee Mike Collins praised last summer's Working Families Tax Act, also called the One Big Beautiful Bill, for propping up rural hospitals.
We got $218 million delivered for rural hospitals across the state, and in the Senate, I will push to double that amount.
But just the day before, in Livonia, a group of advocates, doctors, and patients thrashed the bill that they say slashes $1 trillion from Medicaid, the largest cut to the program ever. Nearby St. Mary's Hospital closed its birth unit this year, citing staffing issues, changing demographics, and Medicaid cuts.
Today, expectant mothers face drives of 45 minutes to Athens or an hour to Greenville, South Carolina, just to give birth. Their stories remind us that the debate has never been about politics. It's about whether Georgia families can access care when they need it and when they need it most.
Collins also addressed his alleged ties to David Allen Scheer II, an online influencer who routinely echoes claims of white nationalism and anti-Semitism.
We're going to talk about who God's chosen people are and why I believe it is not the Jews.
Scheer is married to Collins' daughter. Do you want to today comment on some of the things that he said in those videos? Do you condemn them here?
You know, we've fully addressed that, but John Ossoff refuses to disavow these Democrat socialist movements in our country. John Ossoff should answer for why he supported ending cash bail, why he supported the open borders, why he supported these radical anti-Israel extremists. These aren't Georgia values, y'all. That's what he needs to answer for. And the people will choose to get rid of him in November. So,
could you address his question, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'll give that young lady right there, if she has a question, one last question. Listen, thank you. I appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate your coming out this morning. Thank you very much.
As reporters pressed for more, the press conference ended abruptly. Meanwhile, Democratic Senator John Ossoff saying the Collins campaign has been too quiet about the congressman's son-in-law's comments.
We saw a candidate for the United States Senate, a sitting member of Congress, Mike Collins, run away from a press conference because he was asked some important and straightforward questions.
And you heard Collins say there that they have addressed this before. We did get a statement from the congressman's office saying that he has consistently voted with pro-Israel policies and denounces anti-Semitism in any form, but that statement did not address anything that his son-in-law had said online, and that was the case here again today. We're in Monroe. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.